everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into an idea that could completely reshape the tools we use to write software every single day. We're talking about the concept of the emotion-aware coder. So let me just start by asking you a question, especially if you're a developer. Your tools, right? They're incredibly powerful. They help you write code, debug it, ship it faster than ever before. But have you ever had that feeling that while your tools are making your code better, they're not doing a thing to help you? And that feeling, that little disconnect, it gets right to the heart of the problem. We're dealing with what you could call the emotionally blind IDE. Think about it. Your integrated development environment is this amazing workshop, but it has absolutely no idea what's going on with the human sitting at the keyboard. And that blindness, well, it has a really high and usually invisible cost. So what is that cost exactly? Research suggests it's a huge number. We're talking about a 40% loss in efficiency just from developer stress and burnout alone. Let that sink in for a second. That's almost half of someone's potential just gone. It's an enormous problem that our current tools are just completely oblivious to. This really lays out the disconnect perfectly. On the one hand, you've got these incredible AI assistants like Copilot and Gemini. I mean, they're technical powerhouses, right? They're all about the code, auto-completing syntax, suggesting functions. But then there's this giant missing piece. They are laser-focused on the code, but they completely ignore the coder. They have zero emotional awareness. They don't see the frustration, the confusion, nothing. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the answer might actually be hiding in plain sight. It's a new type of signal that's already there, buried in your everyday workflow. We just haven't been listening for it. And that signal starts with this fascinating field called keystroke dynamics. This is basically the science of analyzing your unique typing patterns. You know, the rhythm, the speed, how long you hold down a key. It's like a fingerprint for how you type. Now, for years, this was mainly used for security, to make sure you are who you say you are. But it turns out, these exact same patterns can tell us a whole lot about your emotional state. Like if you're stressed out or getting tired. And get this isn't just some wild theory. Studies have shown that analyzing keystrokes can spot the signs of stress with up to 85% accuracy. That's an incredibly reliable, data-backed signal about how a developer is actually feeling, and it's hidden right there in the simple act of typing code. Okay, so that's signal number one. The second one is something you're probably a lot more familiar with, natural language processing, or NLP. We already know that modern NLP models are ridiculously good at figuring out emotion and sentiment from text. We're talking up to 90% efficacy here. So it can tell a lot from your comments or your commit messages. So let's recap. We've got two incredibly powerful, proven signals. One tells us things from how you type, and the other tells us things from what you type. So what's the percentage of these two technologies being fused together inside the mainstream tools developers use every single day? Zero. A big fat zero. It's a huge, completely untapped opportunity. All right, so if the ingredients are there, how do we actually make this happen? How can a system combine these signals to genuinely understand you? Well, it all comes down to fusing those two powerful streams of data. It really breaks down into a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, the system fuses the data. It takes those real-time signals from your typing rhythm and combines them with what it's seeing from the text. Second, an adaptive engine analyzes that combined data to build a clear picture of your emotional state. And then, the really cool part, step 3, the system delivers personalized, real-time support based on what it's just figured out about you. Now, I want to be really clear here. This is not about your IDE trying to be your therapist, trying to figure out if you're broadly happy or sad. No. This is way more specific. It's about spotting the states that directly impact the act of coding. Things like frustration when you're hitting a wall with a bug, confusion when you're digging through new docs, confidence when you're on a roll, and of course that magical, highly coveted flow state. And once you can actually detect these specific states, well, that's when everything changes. You move away from just detecting problems after the fact. Instead, you can start providing proactive, smarter, and honestly kinder support. So what does this smarter support actually look like? What would you even see? Well, imagine your IDE notices your typing patterns show frustration, and it just gently suggests, hey, maybe time for a 5-minute break. Or it senses confusion and offers up some really specific context-aware debugging tips. It could even give you a little motivational nudge when you're tackling a really tough problem, or adapt its own interface to better support neurodiverse workflows. The end game here isn't just about churning out more code. It's about making you more resilient and more creative. So when you step back and you look at this whole picture, it really starts to feel like the next logical step, the next evolution of our tools. We're shifting the focus to completing the coder, not just completing the code.
And this one line, man, it just nails it. We're moving from code completion to coder completion. For decades, the holy grail has been code completion, getting the syntax right, finishing the line. The future, though, is about coder completion, about augmenting the human being with tools that actually support their well-being, their focus, and their creativity.
So, I'll leave you with this one last question to chew on. We think of our IDEs as our workshop, our assistant, maybe even our library. But what if, in the very near future, your IDE could also be your advocate? Something to think about.